What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Chat Shit Get Cancelled podcast. I'm doing another solo episode today. I thought because it's episode 10 and because I've not got a guest lined up for another week or so, I'm going to do a little Q&A today. So fucking last week was a bit of a tester, or was it 2 weeks ago, where I was doing my first solo one. Jesus Christ, try to speak for like an hour straight is borderline impossible. You start losing your mind. And if you can see in the studio here, we've got these big lights, and if you look into them once, which I just done again, you fucking blind yourself. So I'm going to do about maybe like half an hour, keep it short and sweet. Questions that if you've followed me on Instagram, you would usually see me answer on like my Q&A, but I often feel like all I'm doing on that is answering a question with like 4 sentences, when a lot of the times the questions people ask me, I would require like a minute, but obviously I can't give that on Instagram. So treat it like a more in-depth version of that. And also I try pick better questions, because people ask me how many calories should I be on every fucking day, and I'm like, fuck off. And they send me their like what height they are and what age they are, and just tell me to work out their calories. And so I avoid all these questions. Right, without further ado, we'll get into them. So first one, why did you decide to go in person as well as online? Or like, why did you decide to go in person? So being truthfully honest, I should have went in person as a personal trainer from the very fucking start, right? But what happened was I started in July 2020, and I'd came back from Australia in August 2020. I lost my job in July 2020. I was working in a call center. I always knew I was going to do PTing for like a year and a half before I'd done it, but I didn't want to leave Australia yet. So I got sacked for hanging up on people on the phone, and then I straight away was just like, fuck it, I'm going to start like posting online and stuff. So I started posting on Instagram, and then when I came back, started posting on TikTok as well. The gyms weren't open, or I think they were just about to open, and then TikTok and stuff took off quite well for me far too early, to be honest. Like I shouldn't have got that many followers that quick, and I shouldn't have maybe got the amount of clients I got that quick. But it meant because the gyms kept shutting and opening again, I was like, I didn't want to really jump into a gym and then have it shut again. So I just concentrated on building social media, and I was like with a full intention of going in a gym at one point. And then moved to London. The rent was that fucking expensive in London for a gym on top of my actual rent. I was like, I actually can't afford to work. You'd lose money to work in a gym and rent a place as well. So that's most of the reason I moved back to Scotland as well, because I wanted to actually work in a gym. So basically anyone that is going into PTing, I would always post on social media from the very start just to get used to it, because it's a different skill set. But I would also make sure you get in a gym straight away. Obviously, like my circumstances just didn't allow me a little bit as well, because I wanted to move to London, but that's why I didn't go in at the start. And then now I am, because that's where you'll learn the most. I've only been doing it again for like 2 months maybe. And I'd bear in mind, I'd trained quite a lot of people in person as well. So it wasn't as if I was a brand new PT, but I'm now been 2 months in, and you learned so much more in person. So like with PTing, I treat every single day is like learning. Like I literally think every single day you should become a better coach. So that's why I decided to go in person as well. There's stuff that you wouldn't learn online. Right, next question is, do you take on clients with eating disorders? So interesting one, right? Very interesting, because with eating disorders, they're all so complex. Like I don't know that much about them, and I think honestly, unless you've had one, it's very hard to know what actually goes on with someone that's got an eating disorder. So being truthfully honest, if someone said they had an eating disorder, especially if it's recent and they've put that on their application form, I don't really want, especially if they're looking for weight loss, I wouldn't take them on, because I don't want to take on someone that's had a history of an eating disorder and then do something that can potentially harm them, basically, because it would. Because a lot of people that have maybe got eating disorders still have those tendencies to want the things that are causing the eating disorder as well. But at the same time, I've had clients with eating disorders. I have current clients that have eating disorders, because a lot of people, again, just like anything else, they might not want to tell you that they've got an eating disorder. So you might find out 3 or 4 months in to having a client that they were like, yeah, I had bulimia like 5 years ago. So it's an interesting one. Like, I think with personal training as a coach, you come across a lot of things that you're trying to give people advice on that you're not qualified to give advice on. So you need to be really careful with what you're doing. So to answer your question, do I take on clients with eating disorders? I'm not fully against it. I wouldn't give them as much nutrition advice. I definitely wouldn't like pull their calories down lower. I'd be more focusing on strength training and going down that route and teaching them how to lift. And then with their nutrition, I'd be open and honest with them, be like, look, I don't want to take you through like a really strict fat loss phase. So unless you want to come on and make sure this is all around like learning the skill of lifting and getting stronger, I think it's best that I'm probably not the person to take you on. That's generally what I do. Right. Maximum amount of protein the body can absorb at once. Is it pointless eating more than 30 grams in a meal? Very good question, because this has been overcomplicated. I think they've said that you can only, or there was a stat that you can only absorb 25 grams of protein in a day. And I don't even think that was the stat. I think that's what someone has pulled from something else, because in an ideal scenario, I think studies have shown that if, say, you were to eat 180 grams of protein a day and you were a 180 pound male, and that's 1 gram of protein per body weight for you, I think studies have shown it is slightly better if you split your protein intake up throughout the day. So maybe hit a good amount of protein 3 or 4 times throughout the day. But that doesn't mean that your body is restricted to only absorbing a certain amount. It just means it would be better for you to get like protein synthesis multiple times throughout the day, not to get too scientific. But really, to like I like to do with most things, to simplify it, just worry about your daily target for that day and getting close to it. Even if your goal is 180, just try hit between 160 and 200 grams most days and you'll be sweet. So again, see with things like that, can we only absorb 30 grams of protein in a day? Think how many variables there are to a person's makeup, like what height they are, what gender they are. And like, obviously there's not going to be one size fits all like anything. So to be honest, a red flag for anything is a one size fits all attitude. Like humans can only absorb 30 grams of protein in a meal. Bollocks. Wait 2 seconds. So the next question, what are the benefits of using creatine and what scenarios is it beneficial? I'll keep this one short. Benefits of using creatine, it will probably give you an extra 0.5% in the gym, and that's it. But that's enough for it to be worth taking, because it's the only supplement really that's been studied well enough that proves it definitely works. You get the odd person that's like a non-responder. Jesus, that was gimpy to say. But like maybe the odd person won't respond to it, but most people will notice a tiny, and I'm talking about, you'll expect yourself on the bench, like you'll put, say as you're a beginner, you'll put a weight that you used to be able to do 10 reps on, you're maybe pushing for 11 one set, and you're 2 weeks into taking creatine and you manage to get 14 reps. That's like the effect of creatine. You might notice that, like I noticed that when I first started taking it. So it'll help you recover a bit better as well. You'll notice that you'll feel a bit fuller as well, so your muscles will feel a bit fuller. And in what scenarios is it beneficial? Lifting weights. Next question. Do you rate cardio, running, etc. at all, or would you pick strength training first every time? So, like, I'm not against cardio. I've done 40 minutes on the bike before I came here. I'm starting to play football again, so I want to get my cardiovascular fitness up again. From weights, like, you will actually improve your cardio from weights, especially if you're doing things like walking lunges and stuff like that, higher rep stuff. Like, your cardio will improve a bit, but obviously not the same as training cardio. So the thing is, see with people, a lot of people, when they want to lose weight, they're also wanting to look better. It's usually an aesthetic thing. It's usually a how I look thing, 9 times out of 10. Obviously, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, it's also a I want to get to a healthy weight range thing. But most of the time, it's a vanity thing. It's a I want to look better, I want to feel better, I want to be more confident. And for that, strength training, hypertrophy training every single time, because that is what is going to also supplement losing fat, is building a bit of muscle. And anyone who is new to lifting will be able to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. So they fucking should go for that, shouldn't they? So that's why I picked strength training first. So I would have that as your primary focus. If you want to do some cardio, if you're a bit of psycho and you want to do some HIIT training, yeah, add it in if you want, but make sure strength training comes first if it's a aesthetic goal thing. Right, what if the scales don't go down because you're weight training? I'm never going to be able to celebrate how much fat I've actually lost. Right, so for a start, you don't want your like mood attached to a number on the scale. Like you don't want to attach your, even because if you attach your happiness to a number go down on the scale, when it goes up, which it inevitably will, because it's going to go up and down, you're also attaching misery to the fucking scale. Does that make sense? So why the fuck would you be worried about why are you celebrating a number on the scale when this is literally just about your health and maybe your confidence? So if you look better in the mirror, if you feel like you put your jeans on and they fit a bit better and you feel a bit fucking sexier in them, then surely that is what should be celebrated. So for me, celebrating a weight loss number, or like my goal is to lose 2 stone, and like having a big celebration because you lost 2 stone and it being all about a number, is a bit of a toxic mindset to have from the start. That's just me. I'm a bit like, maybe a wee bit over the top with those sort of things, but I just know that a lot of people have obsessive, like toxic tendencies with those things. So I try to push them away from it quite a lot. When I do weights, I don't feel as out of breath and sweaty compared to a cardio session. Does this matter? So you're never going to feel the same. Like running a 5K is completely different to a full body strength session. Your aim is literally to put more weight on that bar and make sure your form's good. That's pretty much it. So you like generally you will rest quite a bit if you really want to push weight. So like say you were doing squats, in order for you to lift the most weight like that you can, you're going to have to rest in between those sets. That might be for 3, 4, 5. If you're doing sets like between 4 and 6 at your heaviest, in order for you to be fully rested, that's going to take at least 3 to 5 minutes. So you're not going to be out of breath for those 3 to 5 minutes, and you're probably not going to be at, well, like 4 or 6 reps of squats is fucking disgusting, to be fair, but you're not aiming to be sweaty from that. You're just aiming. So it's a completely different mindset to have. You're focusing on getting stronger, which is not being out of breath. Some things you will be out of breath. Like if you do a set of like 20 walking lunges, trust me, you're going to start sweating and you're going to be out of breath, but you're not going to be doing walking lunges every day. So that isn't the aim. So it's a common thing. It's a common theme that I'll have clients come on. They're just like, I just don't feel like I'm really doing anything because I don't feel out of breath because I'm used to like doing a HIIT workout or whatever. But I'm like, that's not the aim, and this will get you way better results than doing a HIIT workout in your room with no weights to work with. Hi Gavin, what's happening? I wondered if kettlebells work as well as weights. Thanks. So, like an 8 kilo dumbbell realistically is the same as an 8 kilogram kettlebell. So say you were to do Bulgarian split squats with an 8 kilo kettlebell versus an 8 kg dumbbell, there'd be absolutely zero difference, and you don't hold it much different as well. The only thing is your technique's going to be a bit different with dumbbells. What I say to people is like, is it all right for me to work out with kettlebells from home? The only thing is you're probably only going to have 1 or 2 different weights, and like if you're doing 15 different exercises, those one or like just having two different weights to use is going to end up not being enough difference, because you're going to have such different ranges of strength on each exercise that you're going to find that you're going to be doing some exercises where you've just not got enough weight at all, or the opposite, you've got some exercises where there's not a weight that you can use for it because it's too heavy. So that's the reason that I promote adjustable dumbbells so much. Is although they're the most annoying fucking things in the world to change the weight on, at least you can change the weight, so you now have equipment that you can do every single exercise for with a weight that can challenge you on either or on any exercise. That's why I promote them. I'm aware they're fucking infuriating to change, but at least you can change them. Whereas if you've got a 10 kilo kettlebell and a 5 kilo kettlebell, like there's going to be so many exercises that you could perform better on and work closer to like your max capacity. Whereas if you don't have the weight, you can't do it. So I'm not against kettlebells at all. Like, not against them, but it's just you probably spend less money getting adjustable dumbbells. Should I feel guilty eating a Starbucks panini often? Fucking hell, so specific. I always feel guilty if I eat non-home cooked food. Right, so see this trend of PTs becoming like chefs, and I'm not gonna slag off PTs becoming chefs, because one of my best mates does primarily recipes, and also one of my other good mates, Sean, he does primarily recipes. I'm not slagging it off, but a lot of these recipes they don't eat. Like, Michael will be the first person to tell you, like, I'm making that for TikTok. It might help someone and give them an idea, but for me, like, I'm never ever spending more than 20 minutes cooking. Like, I'm just refusing to do it. So I think there's an unrealistic expectation that even people that are into fitness and stuff never just grab something from Sainsbury's, grab a sandwich from Sainsbury's. Not me, because I fucking hate mayonnaise and they're on every single sandwich possible, but I'm eating food on the go all the time. I'm the biggest proponent of fucking like protein yogurts, just whipping them on the go. I had a toasty today out of a cafe. I just put it in my fitness pal, guessed it. Like, you can, as long as you're within your calorie goal, near a protein goal, and you get a bit of fruit and veg, like, you're absolutely fine. Like, the idea that you're not going to eat any processed foods, or you're going to eat completely like clean, organic, home cooked foods all the time is an unrealistic expectation to have for yourself. So it falls into that whole good or bad food sort of mentality as well. You don't want to look at food as good or bad, because that creates like an unhealthy relationship with it. And it's the same with like feeling guilty because you ate something that you didn't cook yourself. The other reason I wouldn't go for Starbucks paninis is because they're a fucking rip-off. It's like £5. Fuck that. And they're stinking, by the way. I've had one of them recently. They're absolutely vile. But eat out and you'll be absolutely fine as long as you hit those goals. Hi Gavin, if I'm hitting my protein goal and within my calorie allowance, does it matter if fat is high? Nah. Like, I've literally never, being honest, I've never even looked at my carbs and fats. I've had, obviously, my fitness pal be like, your fats are high today. And I'll be like, fuck off, mate. I don't give a fuck. As long as you're not cutting out any of them, just hit calories and protein and you'll be absolutely sweet. You got any advice for someone who's nearly 40 and has no core and unfit? Right, so I wouldn't treat you any different because your age or because you're unfit. Believe it or not, no client comes to me and would describe themselves as fit. So I wouldn't change my approach to yourself. What I would say is, you don't have to lift weights. I would, but even if you start off walking, it's fucking huge. I tell this story all the time, and like, people always ask me how. So when I started, a lot of my original content was about my dad's weight loss journey, and because I came back from Australia basically, and like, my dad had got fat. Let's just be honest about it. He'd be the first to tell you. He'd let himself go quite a bit. He was about, I think he was over 18 stone. He's 6 foot. if I was 18 stone, I would be filling out the camera angle right now. So he'd put on quite a lot, and it was noticeable when I came back. But I think, it was quite nice of him, but I think half of it he was so determined because he seen that I was so determined with this, and he was trying to help me as well, and he did need to get in shape. And he lost 5 stone from me I was basically tracking his food for him. I would literally ask him what he'd had at night, and I was like cooking some of the dinners and stuff. And he was eating most of the same food every day. So if I asked him what he'd had at night, I knew what he'd had over the day. So I was basically counting his food for him, and he was just walking. Literally, like, he would go he'd be away for like an hour and 20 minutes. I wasn't even saying, and this is what I mean, I wasn't even going, right, you need to hit 10k steps. I think I said he was hitting like 8 to 12k steps a day, but he was literally going for like an hour and 15-minute walk a day. And he's a psychopath. He can't do anything like without it making him sweat, because he falls into that trap. But with that sort of thing, I wasn't too bothered about like lecturing him about the fact you don't need to be like out of breath. He just feels better if he walks at a faster pace. So he's probably doing like 18,000 steps with the pace he walks at. But he lost 5 stone from just walking, calories and protein, and he got a good bit fitter because he was moving a bit more. He used to be a 4 cans of Stella, probably 5 or 6, no, maybe like 5 times a week, just a bad habit he got into. And he cut that down to like, he'd maybe have 4 cans over the week, or maybe like, he probably had about 6 or 8 cans over the week, but he's maybe having like one night instead of like having 4. And then for you, I would look into lifting weights, and I've got 2 free programs. You can find them in all my social media bios. Sometimes I'll put it in the YouTube description as well. How do you get motivated? I just can't get motivated. I set my alarm up to get off early, to get off early. Sounds like you're having a wank. To get up and get my steps in, but then just go back to sleep. Betty, that's actually your name as well. What I would say, first of all, is stop trying to get up early. Like that, sometimes I say the opposite. What, like, most people would say, be like, get up, get fucking after it. Stop trying to get up early. Do it after. Like, see, if you're obviously not going to bed early enough to get up fucking early. You obviously you're probably sleep deprived. I would start, like I just said to the last person, start with steps, start making things easier for yourself, and don't be bothered about like having to start your day with like a workout, because you need to find what works for you, because this is the trap I used to fall in when I was younger. I used to think that I had to get up at 6 and run in order for me to like get in better shape or lose weight. I thought that was like what you had to do, whereas you don't. You have to find out what works for you, and if you can just get some more steps in and maybe work out 3 times a week, you can do that whatever part of the day. Like, it doesn't really, you don't have to get up at that alarm. Set your alarm for an hour and a half later, get up at that time and do it at a different time. You don't need to get up early. Also, with motivation, the reason I don't think I need to touch into motivation with you is because I reckon you're just doing something that isn't going to work for you, and you should change that. But with motivation, I'll probably get someone else to ask me. I might touch on it in a bit. Do you rate HIIT training at all, even for just general exercise, etc.? So the reason I slaughter HIIT training a lot is because I don't think people are doing it for that reason. Most people aren't doing HIIT training because they want to improve their cardiovascular fitness a wee bit. They're doing it because they've been sold on it being this dream 12-minute workout that's going to get them fucking toned and all the buzzwords, but torch belly fat and all that. And the reason I know people are doing it for those reasons is because I fell for all those traps. So like, I remember 10 years ago when HIIT training first started really getting popularized, they would tell, there was all of these like connotations that came with it, that like HIIT training has an afterburn effect, so you work harder in those 12 minutes than you would if you went for a run. But then it burns way more calories when you're sleeping the next 48 hours. You're burning ridiculous amounts of calories. And all of that's bollocks. Like, it's literally just marketing 101 from like all the people back then that would be making a shit ton of money. Like, one of the worst people, one of the worst places you could get information from, which is where I got loads of information from when I was like 15, was a guy called Mike Chang. And he was doing all of these mad like HIIT workouts, and they're like, I used to do all of them, and they done fuck all for me. Same with like Insanity and stuff. Do you remember Insanity, Paul? Like, I remember doing that, literally hating my fucking life and looking the exact same for months on end. P90X. I remember that. Was that as bad as Insanity? I think I done about 2 weeks of Insanity, and every single time I done it, I didn't think I was going to get to the end. Yeah, definitely not. But I remember we got made to do Insanity in school once. It was like the worst day of my life. Yeah, generally we get made to do Insanity in school. So PCOS and weight loss, right? Who's the guy? So I'm not an expert on PCOS. For me, like when I first started this, I was going down nutrition quite a lot, and there was a lot of people that do nutrition would be speaking about like PCOS and like diabetes and stuff. And then I realized that I'm a personal trainer and I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to really go down that route where I'm really advising people on things that are more relevant to like doctors and stuff. With PCOS, what I do know about it is a lot of people and a lot of people are undiagnosed with PCOS, and a lot of people won't know they have it. People with PCOS tend to have a lower metabolic rate, and see if I butcher any of this information, I've literally just gave myself a disclaimer, right? But from what I've learned, most people tend to have a lower metabolic rate, but it can vary loads. So you can't just be like, right, people with PCOS burn 25% less calories. It's going to be completely different. I was going to say there's a spectrum of that came out weird. And what you have to realize is the actual fundamentals don't change. You just kind of have you have a harder starting point, and you basically have a disadvantage, basically, is the most brutal way to put it, but that's the truth. So what you want to do is still really, you'll have to be even strict to yourself, like prioritizing protein. I'm pretty sure like going high fiber will help you out a lot as well, but you're going to want to make sure that you're tracking your food. You're probably going to have to go a bit lower calorie than other people, but again, it's going to be trial and error for yourself. So just because someone else with PCOS has said that I had to go 1200 calories doesn't mean you have to do that. I would still try a bit higher, and if it starts going in the right direction from there, then go. Like, you don't need to like go off because someone else has PCOS. There's still no blanket rules. It's just the exact same principles, just you might need to go lower in calories, but again, you need to figure out what works for you. Right, so next question, what about when you want to gain muscle? Do you need to lose any excess body fat or have a particular body fat percentage? Just, it depends where you're at, right? So see if you've never lifted weights before, you can probably get away with like recomping. So you can eat around maintenance or slightly below. I don't want to confuse things, because basically if you say that you're eating at maintenance, you're not going to lose body fat, because that's like maintenance is staying around the same level of body fat. But you can go into like a ever so slight deficit, and then when you lift weights and you'll probably be a bit more active, your maintenance, like what you thought was your maintenance, would probably be a slight deficit, just to probably am overcomplicating things. So if you're like a body fat that you're quite comfortable at, I would just do that, and then you'll end up probably losing a little bit of fat and building muscle at the same time. If you're completely fine with where you're at, I would probably actually increase your calories and then build muscle from there. Just try get stronger, because basically if you have a bit more calories, your gym sessions are going to go a bit better. But it's all about how you feel. If you actually feel like you've got a little bit of weight to lose, then you actually want to lose that first. Still lift weights at the same time, but you probably want to lose that first before going up, because you like if you go up in calories, you're going to put on a little bit of body fat. You're trying to like minimize that, but you are going to put on some. Love all your videos. Please can you tell me if you have 2 calorie maintenance days a week and the other days in a deficit, can you still lose weight? Well, it just depends how strict you are with that deficit, because the only thing with like eating the maintenance twice, like, so there's nothing wrong with this. Say you had something coming up at the weekend, you done it, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing that every single week, you're probably going to get to the point where you're taking the piss with it, if you know what I mean. So even if it's a Saturday, it doesn't have to be like maintenance days. You can just allow a little bit more calories every now and then when you feel like it. So I wouldn't be that like strict with it, like going every Saturday and Sunday I'm going to eat in maintenance, because you'll probably find your progress will start stalling, because there does need to be like enough of a level of deficit for your body to actually lose fat. Because say you just eating like like a deficit of 100 calories, that's not enough to actually let your body change. Your body will just adapt to that amount of calories. That's why we kind of give that, it has to be like at least 300 to 500 before you'll actually lose fat. Because there's metabolic adaptation, and if you only go slightly below your maintenance, your body will your metabolism will just adapt to that. Right. I don't know if it's just psychological, but I feel silly doing weights when I have 100 pounds to lose. So that's like a very, very common thing, right? But the thing I would always say is like, and again, you don't have to lift weights. You absolutely don't have to. I just would say that if you lift weights, say you've got 100 pounds to lose, and say you lose 50 pounds without lifting weights versus with lifting weights, you kind of just get a head start when you've lifted weights, because I guarantee you once you lose that weight, you're probably going to still have goals that you want to achieve, or you're probably still going to be like, oh, I still want to now I want to get toned. Whereas if you lifted weights that full time, you would obviously have a bit of a head start. But at the same time, it's really up to you. Maybe if you've got 100 pounds to lose, maybe just starting by doing steps, like doing a bit more steps, getting like 4,000 more a day would be a good start, because your primary goal is weight loss, right? Last question I'm gonna do, Emma Louise Purser. If you have no fitness level at all and get put out of breath bending over to get the TV remote, is cardio or weights better? Emma, like I prescribe a lot of people, I would start with steps over cardio. Like, what cardio are you going to do? If you really feel like your fitness levels is that low, I would just you can improve at walking like really, really quick. That's why I love walking, because you can literally get like 99.9% of people to get more steps in. So like, if people would only be able to do like 1,000 steps before they were like getting sore, like someone who's like starting from the very beginning, they've maybe got a lot of weight to lose, they'll be able to like add on to that pretty quickly. By like 6 weeks in, they might be able to get like 8,000 steps pain free. So that's why I always advise like people start with steps if they really feel that they can't lift weights. Right, so I'm gonna wrap that up here. See, I have an idea in my head basically of, I want to do these solo podcasts at the same time, maybe even just like one a month, but I want to like do Q&A styles, but I'm going to get people to send in videos of them actually asking a question to the camera, so that I can like watch it at the same time and then it'd be more of a interactive sort of Q&A rather than me like reading off my phone and stuff. I just think that'll be better, and I'm going to have like segments and stuff as well, so there's a bit more structure to it. So if anyone wants to do that, just send me a DM on Instagram. Make sure you actually take the video and send it through your library rather than just send me as a story, because it like disappears straight away. So I can save them on my phone. I'll maybe do that next month, so just start sending them in now, and I'll get on to that. And for anyone that's new to the podcast, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, and if you're on Spotify, make sure to follow me as well. And thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.